It's been a little more than 2 years since the original Shin Megami Tensei V was released. While the game was generally well received, the game did draw some criticism with regard to the story, the difficulty spikes that required a lot of grinding to overcome, and the Switch's hardware limitations. Fast forward to today, and the SMT V refresh, Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance, has been released. It's now liberated from Switch exclusivity and available for play on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox along with the Switch. That potentially eliminates the hardware limitations problem, but what about everything else? Is this game worth picking up? Join us today as we dive back into Dot with a Vengeance. We'll give a brief synopsis for the story for the new players looking to try this out. You play as our noble protagonist, don't mind the name. He was an ordinary high school student until he was transported to the Netherworld, also known as Dot. There he meets Aogami, a proto-fiend who he fuses with to become the Nahobino, a powerful being possessing godlike abilities. With this newfound power, our protagonist sets out to uncover the mysteries of the Netherworld and the truth behind what happened to Tokyo 20 years ago, all while fighting powerful demons that get in his way. One of Vengeance's biggest additions is its new storyline, the Canon of Vengeance. The Canon of Vengeance takes the story's initial premise, adds a few things to it, and takes it in a different direction from the original. The first addition is Yoko Hiromine. You'll see her right at the beginning as the game prompts you with a decision. Take her hand or don't. Taking her hand will lead you to the Canon of Vengeance. Leaving her alone will take you to the original story, the Canon of Creation. Yoko Hiromine is a human being endowed with the otherworldly power necessary to fight demons. She joins your party after an encounter in the Netherworld where she helps you fight off a powerful demon.
I am Yoko Hiromine. Now let's kill this thing.
To balance out having a new friend, we also have new foes, the Kadishtu. The Kadishtu are a group of demons led by Lilith. They're a ruthless faction who wish to amass large amounts of Magatsuhi, a spiritual energy source, and are willing to kill as many humans as it takes to do so. Hardcore SMT fans might not like this comparison, but SMT Vengeance goes the Persona Golden Royal approach of adding a mysterious girl to your party in order to spice the story up a little. But because Vengeance's new storyline takes the narrative down a different path, it avoids the royal golden pitfall of said mysterious girl feeling like an afterthought inclusion. Sure, Marie and Kasumi had their own story arc, but they were largely irrelevant to the main story until much later in the game. Yoko, however, is interwoven into the story of Canon of Vengeance from the get-go. She has a dark, pessimistic outlook on the world which helps her see the Netherworld as it is, a cruel battleground where might makes right. She serves as a wonderful foil to Tao's optimistic idealism.
When trapped in a cycle, victims of abuse only want one thing. They want to take revenge.
Hiromine, that...
Tao and Yoko's dynamics are probably one of the best additions to the new storyline. They both help each other's characters develop by being exposed to their clashing personalities and ideologies, and by attempting to see the world through the other's eyes. The Kadishtu also serves as an interesting new antagonist faction. The Kadishtu demons, comprised of Lilith, Nama, Asheth, and Agrat, are inspired by real-life counterparts found in ancient Jewish mysticism. They're designed well, and you can tell a lot of detail was put into matching their appearance to their myth counterparts. For example, Nama is a seductress in various accounts of Jewish mysticism, and, well, our first meeting with her conveys that pretty well, I think.
How fortunate we should meet. Allow me to guide you to a most sacred place.
The Kadishtu's intentions are shrouded in mystery for a good part of the game, and the game does a good job of making you want to play more to understand what it is that they're after. Despite the interesting new characters that we're introduced to, it's sad to say that the original SMT V characters still feel a little lacking. Although they were handled just a teeny bit better in Vengeance, a lot of them are just cookie-cutter characters made to fit the mold of law, chaos, and neutral, and don't really have much personality beyond that. It takes time for Canon of Vengeance to hit its stride, but overall it tells its story better than Canon of Creation. If you do choose to play Canon of Creation, for better or worse, it stays unchanged along with all of its storytelling flaws. However, the gameplay changes and quality of life enhancements are also applied to the original story, so if you do want to play it, it won't be as much of a chore as it used to be. Speaking of gameplay, it's largely the same, but with some much needed balancing and quality of life additions. So we still have the renowned SMT press turn system. It's an engaging turn-based system that further rewards players for exploiting weaknesses, critical hits, and evasion. In very simple terms, hit a weakness, +1 turn for you. Successfully evade or defend from an attack, -1 turn for the enemy. Be careful as the enemies can exploit the system as well. So be sure to know your enemies and be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses. Moving on to what has changed, there are quite a few changes that we've noticed throughout our playthrough. The most important when it comes to the battles, I feel, is that they balance the level scaling. In the original, if the enemies were just a few levels above your party, they felt way stronger than they should be. This made the difficulty feel artificial and unfair in certain situations. Now, if you have a well-constructed team and a well-planned strategy, you can blitz enemies even if they're slightly stronger than you. This puts more focus on your team composition and skill allocation rather than how much time you spend running around looking for fights like a rabid hyena. Speaking of grinding, that's easier now too, because experience points are more evenly distributed, even among your backup demons. Of course, that good old SMT difficulty is still there, so if you enter into a fight unprepared or too underleveled, you'll still get blitzed yourself. Especially if you unwittingly run into this motherfucker! Speaking of leveling up, there are also now other ways to increase your demon stats. There's a new demon hunt feature where all your demons will be hanging out. In this space, you can talk to your demons and get some comments from them about the current objective and/or snippets of their lore. It certainly makes your demons feel more like buddies rather than chickens you'd send out to compete in illegal cockfights. You now also have bonds with said demons. Your bond points increase the more you fight. Also, you have the option of giving them gifts to gain more points. When that bond reaches a certain level, they will call you over to the hunt, and they'll either give you an item or announce that they're learning a new skill or getting a permanent stat boost. This is great if you want to keep certain demons in your party for longer, as it's an easy way to raise stats other than the stat instances. Maybe a certain demon has a unique skill that you want to keep utilizing in your comp, or maybe you just like this demon, or maybe both. Whatever your reason, you now have multiple ways of ensuring that demon's longevity on the battlefield. Traversing Dot has never been easier with the addition of Magatsuhi rails. Magatsuhi rails allow the Nahobino to put on his soap shoes and roll around at the speed of sound across the vast terrain of Dot. They allow you to either get to a place that you cannot access normally, or serve as a shortcut past huge spaces that you've already been to. Since the Dot maps can get quite large, this is a very welcome change and would help if you're going around grinding, harvesting items, doing quests, or recruiting demons. Outside of these big changes, a lot of other new additions were made to the game. There are now more side quests for you to complete, the Demi-Fiend DLC is now included by default, new dungeons and areas, the ability to save anywhere on the map, and a new difficulty option, Godborn, that can be unlocked in the New Game Plus. There's no shortage of content in this SMT refresh. It's certainly going to be one of those games that you'll spend a long time with. The visuals remain largely unchanged, but in a good way. It's still the same well-designed demons, albeit with some additions like the beautifully designed Kadishtu, and still the same otherworldly environments of supernatural, post-apocalyptic Tokyo. That being said, now that it's available on other platforms, loading time problems are now a thing of the past. The hardware limitations of the Switch are no longer a problem, so long as you're on a fairly modern PC, a PS5, or an Xbox X or S. Although, we would have loved to see SMT adopt the battle UI of Persona, where menu items are assigned a single button. It would surely reduce the time spent scrolling through menus. I mean, even Like a Dragon adopted it. If there's one thing you can count on with Atlus, it's making good OSTs, and SMT V Vengeance is no exception. Vengeance features the tracks that helped create that unique vibe that the original SMT V had. Now, we also have new tracks made specifically for Vengeance. There are new boss battle themes like the one they made for the Kadishtu, and there are also some new tracks for the new side quests. The time side quest theme, one of my favorites by the way, is a surprisingly chilled out bop, considering that time game segments usually feature hectic or high energy tracks. Hats off to Ryota Kozuka and Toshiki Konishi. All in all, there are a lot of new things that they've improved upon compared to the initial release of SMT V. They've added a whole new story and whole new characters. They've added and tweaked features and gameplay aspects to make the game less tedious and more fun. Personally, if you're looking for a reason to get this game, it's gonna be the new story. It improves upon the original SMT V story, and it's just vastly different from the original that it merits another playthrough. For someone who's been on the fence about getting SMT V for 2 years, whether it's because you don't have a Switch, or because reviews of the story made you reluctant, or you don't want to deal with the tedium of the gameplay, well, here it is. SMT V Vengeance is your sign to finally pull the trigger. For someone who has played the original SMT V and is reluctant to spend on it again, I understand your hesitation. Again, the new storyline takes on a whole new narrative direction and is the best part of Vengeance, but the gameplay is largely the same. If you love SMT's brand of storytelling, it's worth it. If you're looking for a brand new gaming experience, maybe wait for a sale if you really can't get it now. But for fans of the SMT series, this one is definitely a must-have. I've been playing this game straight since its release, and I cannot put it down. Even now as I'm recording this, I'm thinking of booting it up again. So let me wrap up this review so I can get back to hyper-fixating on optimal fusions in the world of shadows. Shin Megami Tensei V is back with a vengeance, scoring a 9.4 from us. That's it for our thoughts on Shin Megami Tensei V Vengeance. Now it's your turn to tell us what you thought of the game. Have you played it? Do you appreciate the changes it made to the original game? Who's your favorite demon and why is it Mara? Tell us in the comments below, like if you like, subscribe for more video game related content. This has been GameMate and we'll see you in the next video.